Have you ever come across a few words that stop your heart cold? Not because of their beauty, but because of how effortlessly they shatter the world you thought was unbreakable. That's where my story begins. My name is Emily, and this is how one message, a handful of digital words glowing on a screen, dismantled everything I believed about love, trust, and the quiet safety of forever. Mark and I were the kind of story people like to believe in. High school sweethearts turned soulmates, the couple who still held hands in grocery store lines. We built a life out of small joys: Sunday breakfasts, burnt pancakes, movie nights where he'd fall asleep halfway through. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real, solid. He was my first love, my only love, and I would have sworn, with every piece of my heart, that he was incapable of breaking it. But sometimes, love isn't a shield. Sometimes it's the very thing that leaves you defenseless. It was an ordinary Saturday morning. Mark was in the shower, steam clouding the mirror, humming some old song under his breath. His phone buzzed on the counter beside me. Just once, a small light in the quiet. I don't know what made me look. Curiosity? Instinct? Maybe it was the stillness before a storm. That strange, knowing silence right before the world tilts. The message was from someone named Claire. I want you so badly right now. I can't stop thinking about you. The air left my lungs. I read it again, hoping I'd imagined the words, but they stayed there. Sharp, undeniable, alive in a way that made my stomach twist. For a second, I couldn't move. The house, the sound of the running water, even my heartbeat, everything went still. When Mark stepped out, towel around his waist, he saw me holding his phone. He didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't need to. The silence between us was louder than any confession. He told me it wasn't what I thought, that Claire was just a coworker, that they talked late sometimes, work stuff, life stuff, harmless stuff. But then he said something that broke me in ways I didn't understand at first. It's not physical. It's just emotional. Just. As if emotions meant less. As if giving her his thoughts, his attention, his secrets, the pieces of him that once belonged only to me, wasn't betrayal. That night, I couldn't look at him without seeing the space she'd already taken. Every laugh we'd shared, every memory that once felt sacred, felt suddenly rewritten. His proposal replayed in my mind, the way he'd said, "You're my home." And I wondered if he even remembered what that meant. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to scream, to leave, to make him feel even a fraction of what was clawing through me. But love doesn't turn off like a switch. Even in the wreckage, it lingers. Stubborn, painful, alive. I stayed, not because I was weak, but because some part of me, the part that still remembered his laugh, his warmth, refused to believe this was the end. I needed to know if we could find our way back, or if we were already gone. We started therapy. The sessions felt like digging through glass, every word cutting, every truth raw. There were moments I thought I saw the man I fell in love with again. Glimpses, tiny sparks between all the hurt. But there were also nights when I'd lie awake beside him, staring into the dark, wondering if I was trying to save us, or just the memory of who we used to be. Mark confessed one evening, voice low and trembling, that somewhere along the way, our marriage had stopped feeling alive. He said he missed the spark, the fire that used to make ordinary moments feel electric. Hearing it felt like salt pressed into an open wound. But deep down, I couldn't deny it. He was right. Somewhere between work deadlines, bills, and the quiet routines of adulthood, I had let life drown out love. Claire wasn't the cause of our fall. She was the symptom, proof of how far apart we'd drifted while pretending everything was fine. Rebuilding wasn't the cinematic kind of healing people imagine. It wasn't candlelit apologies or sudden epiphanies. It was hard, messy, uneven. There were nights of shouting until our voices broke, nights of silence so heavy it felt like the walls themselves were grieving, and nights where we simply held each other. Not out of passion, but out of shared exhaustion, like two survivors clinging to the same wreckage. But slowly, painfully, something shifted. Tiny moments began to string together into something that resembled hope. Date nights came back, awkward at first, then easier. Laughter, hesitant and fragile, started to sound like itself again. The distance between us began to shrink, though the scars never really disappeared. Even now, when his phone buzzes across the table, a part of me still flinches. Trust doesn't come back in grand gestures. It returns in whispers, in quiet mornings, small choices, the 1,000 unseen decisions to believe again. I learned that intuition isn't paranoia, it's protection. That gut feeling I once ignored had been my lifeline, the voice that refused to let me live inside a beautiful illusion. Months passed, and as the dust settled, something unexpected happened. I realized the healing wasn't just about saving our marriage. It was about saving myself. I began to write again. Pages filled not with anger, but with clarity. I called old friends, laughed about things that had nothing to do with heartbreak. I took long walks without explaining where I was going. I started to remember who Emily was before she became Mark's wife. And for the first time in years, I liked the woman I saw staring back at me. Mark noticed the change. At first, he was afraid that my healing meant I was leaving. But the truth was, I wasn't slipping away. I was finally coming home to myself. Love, I realized, was never meant to be about losing yourself in someone else. It's about growing beside them. Two separate roots intertwining, not one consuming the other. Therapy turned from survival to understanding. We learned how to speak without walking on eggshells, how to listen without defending, how to forgive without erasing what happened. Because forgiveness isn't about pretending the wound never existed. It's about choosing to stop letting it define every heartbeat after. Our marriage still isn't perfect. Some days, the cracks show through. Some days, we fall into old patterns, tripping over the same fears. But every morning, I remind myself, I am stronger than the moment that tried to break me. If you've ever felt that quiet warning inside your chest, that subtle ache that whispers something isn't right, listen to it. That voice is not fear, it's wisdom. It's your soul asking to be heard. Trust it, even when it hurts. Because sometimes, the truth that shatters you is the same truth that sets you free. Trust can fracture. Love can falter. But you can rise. And even if the relationship doesn't survive, you will.